And I remember being so excited to work on art all the time. Like I never thought about sitting there and drawing and painting for hours at a time.
You are listening to the Artist King podcast. I am your host, DTM of DeltaTangoMike.com. The Artist King podcast features artists, entrepreneurs, and business coaches who share their knowledge, expertise, and resources to provide insight into the ways we can find our own personal success with our creative talents. Dale Hewitt Jr. is one of the very few artists I know in person who are dedicated to telling stories in comic book form and have the knowledge to take it from an idea and sketch all the way to a finished comics into the hands of a comic reader. I have been fortunate to watch his creative process and learn a few things along the way to apply that knowledge into my own projects. Let's hear Dale share his story. Hey Dale, how you doing today?
I'm doing well.
It's good to have you on the podcast. I know we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, good to be
And
here.
yes, well, thank you for being here. I see you every now and then. It's been a while since we've seen each other,
I
but
know.
I know I still see your posts every now and then, and I'm always amazed by your art. So
Thank you.
I I had to have you on. So tell us, for those of you who don't know you, for those of you out there listening and watching who do not know Dale, please, Dale, tell us where you're from and what do you do?
So my name is Del Hewitt Jr. I am a illustrator and artist. I mostly do comic book work, but I also do a lot of freelance illustration jobs. I've been here since '94. I came here to go to Atlanta College of Art, got my illustration degree, and I just been here ever since, just working on my art and trying to get better. Um,
Hmm.
and I just love creating art. I love creating stories, especially with comics. That's my heart and my soul.
Hmm. Nice. Yep. Comics. That's it. That's the part that I know about you is that you get down like that. So tell us about the comics. So you came to Atlanta. You
Mhm.
moved here because of the school. You stayed here
Yes.
after. You've been here since. So have you been? Did you graduate with a art degree? And are you doing that art thing?
Yeah. So I got a BFA in illustration, and for a long time I did not do much with the art. Like when I got out of
Okay.
school, I went straight to do work retail, and then I started teaching. Then I got married, so having kids, and um, I think what brought me back to it and was my wife and I got in an argument about something, and she was like, "You don't have any dreams," and I was like, "I do have dreams," and that's how I was like, "You know what? I need to stop playing around and get focused back on the art." And of course, I did art the whole time, but I wasn't really focused on making it a career or making it something that I did for a living.
Hmm.
Um, the other motivating factor was I would go to Dragon Con every year and I'll go take the classes. And so I was doing art the whole time, but I just wasn't focused on it. And I went to see Sanford Green. I've known him since 1997. We both went to the same church. And this is before Marvel and DC. And we just, clicked. And so whenever I go to the Dragon Con, I would see him. And of course, at this point, he's working for Marvel and DC. And I was
Hmm.
showing my sketchbook, and he was like, "Man, you need to be behind the table with me," And I was like, "Okay." And so because of his encouragement, and of course the whole dream thing, I was like, you know what, I need to do it. And I think we were talking about earlier just how we stop ourselves, and I think for years I was
Hmm.
stopping myself from doing anything, and I was like, you know what, let me make it simple. Let me create one page a week. I can handle that and make a web comic and just post it online. And that's how it all
Hmm.
started. And back in 2013, I believe.
Hmm. Hmm.
And after I created enough content to make a book, I found out about Kickstarter. And then after I found out
Hmm.
about Kickstarter, I tried to create my very first Kickstarter, which was Ebony Kiss initially, and it failed.
Hmm.
but I,
Oh.
but I was like, that's okay, you know. I'm gonna try again this time with my own stuff, which was Kings of the Wasteland, because
Mm-hmm.
Ebony Kiss was created by Bernard Busby, and we had always planned to do something together, but he passed away of liver cancer in
Mm.
2011, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was a project that was created so I could just remember, so I'd never forget him. You know, it's like I always created the thing that he wanted to create with me years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that failed,
Mm-hmm.
I decided to do a Kickstarter for Kings of the Wasteland,
Mm-hmm.
and lo and behold, it was successful. And so that's how the ball started rolling. Um, and you know, I was like, wow, this is possible, and I could do it if I just don't stop myself, you know?
Right, right, right.
uh,
Hmm. Go
no,
ahead.
no, that's it.
This is it's crazy that just going from everything you just said, you covered a lot of things. Number one is that I can't believe your wife said you don't have any dreams.
Hey. Well,
But sometimes we need that punch in the gut,
yes, yes,
right, to shake you. Because it's real. This is like the part of the business, the art talk where we talk about the realities of living a life, and how sometimes it's easy to put certain our passions on pause and say, I'm gonna get to it, I'm gonna get to it, I'm gonna get to it,
exactly.
and then things just take over, and
Kids,
before we
work.
kids, yeah, kids work. And I was about to mention that you were just telling me the ages of your kids before we started the podcast, and it's like yeah, I bet that's a lot of work is to be a father, a husband, and run a household and stuff. And so sometimes you need that jump start, that psst, and get you going.
Yeah,
And so that's awesome that you have somebody in your life that can be a partner into kickstarting the movement again. Then but then I do remember Ebony Kiss. I thought that was a great character. It the It's the Wild West. That's the Wild
yes,
West kind of look, right?
like the 1860s.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's like that can't be easy. You just can't draw horses in
Oh
hats
man.
and dirt, right? Like you
I
need, not only do you have to draw that, you need some research.
Yes, a lot of research, and it is hard. I was like, and at the time, my art has come a long way. When I first started doing, getting serious about art, I
Mm-hmm.
literally was in my kids' playroom's closet. Like I had my desk set up in the closet, and literally you could close the closet door, and then
Yeah.
it didn't exist, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so starting off there in a closet and just trying to create something from research and
Mm-hmm.
references, it was hard. It was definitely a hard
Mm-hmm.
process, but you learn from it, you know. You
Mm-hmm.
grow from that experience. And so yeah, just even thinking about it now is like, you know, the thing about art is the more you do it, the better you get. And so,
Right.
you know,
Right. And that's it. That's good. That's right. Yes, and that's a big lesson right there. I want people to take away from this moment is that is that once you do it that first time, the first time is gonna be tough because you never done it. But once you do it that first time, the second time is just a little bit easier because you have a little bit of background on it already
yeah.
now. You understand what you went through before, and that goes into the what's the
Kings of the Wasteland.
Kings of the Wasteland. Yes, and so I like that. I like that comic too, and I think I did get a copy because it was a dog,
Yeah,
and he's a
yeah.
cowboy. It's a dog in the same time period.
No, no. So Kings of the Wasteland is set from totally different than Ebony Kiss. They're two totally
Hmm.
separate comics. Um,
Right, right, right.
but the okay. So with Kings of the Wasteland, when I created it, I wanted something that I could draw whatever I wanted to, and
Hmm.
that's why I set it in the post-apocalyptic times. And then I wanted to do something different. Like everybody was doing, you know, whenever somebody creates something, it's usually a variation of Superman or a variation of Spider-Man, but it
Yes.
just their own
Yes.
characters. I want to do something like
Mm-hmm.
totally left field. And so that's when I decided to do animals, because anthropomorphic things in anime, because I watch a lot of anime as well,
Mm-hmm.
it they cover everything, and they have a little bit of anthropomorphic stuff even with the real people. And so I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
create something animal wise, that was set in a time where you can pretty much draw whatever you wanted to draw. And
Right.
so post-apocalyptic stuff, I love that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Max,
Mm-hmm.
the Denzel Washington one. What was that called? Book of Eli.
Yes. Ebook. Yes.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I love that
Uh-huh.
post-apocalyptic setting, and
Uh-huh.
so I just was super excited to draw that stuff, and so I had so much fun with
Mm-hmm.
it. But I also had a vision for it to be animated, so I made it very, very simplistic, nothing super
Mm-hmm.
complicated. And so that was the vision for Kings of the Wasteland. Just have
Mm-hmm.
fun. The animals just having their own power system and their own story, and the dog is
Mm-hmm.
like today, if you go say, dogs are pretty commonplace, but I want to create a world where dogs are rare. If you see a dog,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very rare thing, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just something different. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's and that's cool. I like how okay. So a couple more things. I'm dissecting what you're saying because it's amazing. One is we're tired of the superheroes, and I'm gonna take it further. I'm tired of comic book characters with their underwear outside of their pants.
right.
It's like come on, there was it was a Batman Year One by Frank Miller, I think,
hmm
and so it was just Bruce Wayne with a bulletproof vest
hmm
and some regular cargo pants and stuff.
Yes.
And it's like that's how it starts. Like that's it.
Right.
You put on some clothes that you think are going to be a little bit tactical, and you roll with it, and stuff. And so where do you get where does Superman go to tailor his clothes or Spider-Man or whatever? It's like there's no secret identity now. That's it.
Right. Right. But I,
You
I
know.
I think part of it too is tradition, because when
Hmm.
comics first started, that's how they drew them, like in the superhero outfits. Um,
Yes.
and so you kind of just carry on the tradition of what was created originally.
Hmm.
And it's not till you get somebody creative like a Frank Miller, um, that can take that same character and put him in something different, and still
Hmm.
make them the same lovable character you grew up with, but make them more believable.
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's true.
mhm.
Once you started that tradition, it's kind of hard, like trying to change Santa Claus's clothes or
Exactly,
something.
exactly.
Right, I get you. You're right. That makes sense. You're right. You're right. Yeah,
Now, why
yeah.
you would want to create your own character in underwear, I don't know.
Right. Okay, and that and so okay, so as an example, when Image Comics uh came out,
hmm
and they're like almost everything that Image Comics was doing was a DC Marvel character, but with their twist.
I'll put it even deeper than that. They were doing the same books they were doing at Marvel and DC. Like,
Right.
think about it. Jim Lee was doing Wildcats, which is essentially X-Men, which is what he was doing.
Mhm.
Then you
Mhm.
have Spawn, who had chains that flew up like Spider-Man, which is what he
Mhm.
was doing, in
Yep.
Marvel.
Right.
So they're all like variations of what they were already doing. Brad Blyfield did
Right.
his Extreme Team, that was essentially like X-Force, which was what he was doing at Marvel.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they essentially was doing what they were doing before. And so I think the
Right.
other issue too is, as artists, we're artists. So
Mhm.
we don't start off studying the art of storytelling, as far as like writing scripts and writing
Mhm.
entire stories.
Mhm.
Which is why, one of my best friends, his name is Ken Burns, and he has been writing his whole life. That's his craft. That's what he focused on. That's what he
Mhm.
studied, and so now he's
Mhm.
great at it. So why would I take
Mhm.
Yes, I come with ideas and stuff like that, and you can write. There's lots of writer artists, but sometimes artists like a Jim Lee is better at drawing the story than writing it. So
Mm-hmm.
he's
Right.
writing all he knows, which is X-Men. So you really can't
Mm-hmm.
fault him for that. But at
Mm-hmm.
that point, you need to get somebody who has excelled in that area, and
Right.
that's a writer. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's been Kenneth Burns. He's writing Kings of the Wasteland for me, and I draw it. Of
Wow.
course, I have my input, but then
Mm-hmm.
for collectors, which is the Kickstarter I just got funded, um, the writer for the first story was Carlton Hargrove, who is the president for 20th Place Media, which they make their own
Okay.
comics. And we've been
Mm-hmm.
working together for a long time as well. And he's a great writer. So, sometimes you need to pair up with, great writers so you can do what you do best.
Right.
But that's not to say you can do your own thing, because I wrote, one of the stories in Collectors, and I wrote some of Kings as well. So, it just depends. You can do both, but sometimes you need to know your limitations. Is let it, let
Mm-hmm.
somebody do that.
Focus on your strengths.
Yeah. And
Yes,
work. You can
that's
still
right.
work on the writing on the side so you can get better. And when you're ready, you come out. But at
Mm-hmm.
least work on it so you could put some time into it. So you know, you could make that
Mm-hmm.
better or stronger, I should say.
Right. Right. So talking about what is your strengths? In that is comic books. So that's what you went to school for. Comic book, is that the degree? What is the name of
No,
the
the
degree?
degree's
Or what did you do?
illustration. So
Okay.
when I went to school, I'm really feeling old now. When I went back, when I went to school in 1994,
Oh,
the
okay.
only school that was teaching sequential art, which is comics, was SCAD, which was in Savannah.
Okay.
And so I didn't know that until I came to the States, and I was already enrolled in the London College of Art. So when I got there, I didn't know what major to pick because I didn't know what I was doing. So I just was like, I guess I'll pick my major as being drawing. And I did
Mm-hmm.
that for the first year, and then I realized that the closest thing to what I want to do is illustration, which is doing paintings for covers of magazines or inside magazines, book covers, things of that nature. So it was more open. So I felt
Mm-hmm.
comfortable learning illustration and then converting that to doing comic book stuff. So
Mm, okay.
yeah, so I just did the comic book stuff on the side on my own, and then
Mm-hmm.
I end up surrounding myself with people who love comics. And so what's
Mm-hmm.
funny is every
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, me and my friends from college, we get together and have an art jam night where we just pick a subject and just draw that subject. That's where the Miles Morales piece came from. Was from one of those nights where the theme was Spider-Man,
Okay.
and I just wanted to do Miles Morales running up a
Uh-huh.
building, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's that time lapse. There's a time lapse of that one
Hmm.
on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And bro, you drew all of that? Oh, you drew the buildings? I know it's like
Bro, I stood there. I was there for hours, drawing every single building, every single car,
ah,
everything. And but you know what? At the end of the day, it was worth it because it came out great,
yeah.
and I'm very happy
Mm-hmm.
with it. And I just all I did was I took the same approach that I take to everything in life, and that's taking one
Mm-hmm.
step at a time. So I just took one
Mm-hmm.
section at a time and went through and did each section until I was finished. And I
Mm-hmm.
tell my kids that all the time, like, just take one step at a time. Don't focus on the overall thing. Because I remember my oldest son, he's in advanced classes, and he was getting frustrated with he's in eighth grade, he takes ninth grade classes, and he was getting frustrated. And I was like, just take it one step at a time. You don't have to do the whole thing one time. Just take one question at a
Mm-hmm.
time, answer that, then move on to the next one. And if you do that,
Mm-hmm.
you should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's the answer to question is how do you eat an elephant, or how
Mhm.
do you tackle something really big?
Right.
And it's don't look at the whole thing, because you'll feel crushed.
Yes.
You'll feel
Exactly.
It said,
It's crazy.
hmm yeah, just whatever as far you can reach, just
Yes.
do that now, and then you move into that space, and then do the next thing,
Yep.
and so on. That's good. That's really good. And so I think that it's important to make a note of you and those Tuesdays. That's something that's happening now,
Yeah,
right? This
we
is
get together.
a your part of your
Yeah,
schedule.
we get together every Tuesday night at 9:30, and we just
Mm-hmm.
draw for I guess
Mm-hmm.
3 to 4 hours until
Mm-hmm.
we get tired, which is very quickly because we're old. But we just have fun, chit chatting, talking,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's important for artists to have because we
Mm-hmm.
isolate ourselves in our drawing table
Mm-hmm.
and we just draw, and don't have those interactions. And sometimes the interactions
Mm-hmm.
inspire you to do, great
Mm-hmm.
things in art.
Yeah. Yes, yes. There was a time, when I would get cranky and my wife would say to me, "You need to go do a meetup. You need to go hang out with other artists."
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
yes, you need that creative energy all around you,
and and
So,
I have to
yes.
say, I got that a lot in the beginning. I remember it had to have been 2014 when I first heard about you and met you and started becoming part of your gallery showings and things of that nature because I knew I
Mm-hmm.
needed to be outside myself and not just be in a closet drawing all day. And and so I think I heard about you through Andre Moore. We went to college
Mm-hmm.
together, and
Okay.
he told me about one of your art showings, and he said you should try out and see if you can get in. And
Mm-hmm.
I got in, and I remember it was around 2000. Actually, it could have been earlier than that because I remember Caleb was a kid. He was maybe 2 or 3 when I
Mm-hmm.
went to the first gallery showing because you had a gallery showing near not downtown but near it, and I remember you had a DJ there, so there's music blasting and people were watching all the
Mm-hmm.
art. And my son is a lot like me. Like when he's tired, he just goes to sleep. So even though I had music blasting, he was knocked out in the little carrier. What do you call it, the strollers? And I'll never forget that. That's
Uh,
so we've known each other for a long time. But yeah,
yeah, man.
it,
Yes.
all those things help, for sure.
That's right. That's right. And so, and so stepping out into the world outside of your closet, being around other artists,
Mhm.
even if it's online nowadays,
I love
it's
that.
super important,
That
man.
makes it
Yeah.
so. I mean, that's awesome. I love the whole online
Yeah.
thing. That's great.
You don't have to get in your car and drive
30
an
minutes
hour to get
somewhere.
somewhere.
Exactly, exactly. And then the
Yes.
great thing about it too is you have all your tools ready to go, so
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
prepared to draw something great,
Mhm.
and it's fun.
Yeah. You don't have to pack up the bag and forget something.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes, yes, I got you. I got you. Well, that's good. All right, so let's take a step back and go into further down memory lane and tell us about the time when you discovered art in any form,
Okay.
any level, and how old were you? What was going on in your life? What was the experience about and like?
Um. So I tell my mom this all the time, and she's like, "I don't remember that," but I remember distinctly as a kid. Um, my mom, whenever she's on the phone with somebody she wants to talk to for a long time, she would have a
Mhm.
a little notepad where she would take down, the person's number or information she may need to know. And after she took down the information and she'd be on the phone, I was walking by and I would see her like sketching the Eiffel Tower, just real rough,
Mhm.
just, sketching
Mhm.
stuff out.
Like a doodle.
Yeah, like a doodle.
Mhm.
And I remember just
Mhm.
being so blown away by that. I was like, wow, that is so awesome. I want to do that.
Mhm.
And even to this day, I believe it's still there. My parents had a Scrabble game, and on the inside of the box of the Scrabble box was all these cards I drew on the inside. I think I was like 6 years old, and you could tell I had the talent back from back then because kids typically when I was teaching, I saw kids just draw stuff, and they may draw cars, but there's a circle for the wheels, there's a square for the body of the car. But going back and
Mm-hmm.
looking at that box that I drew in at 6 years old, I had the mufflers, I had the rims, I had the windows. Like I made sure I put the
Uh-huh.
headlights. It was detailed, for 6 years old, to be inside this box.
Uh-huh.
And they had exhaust coming out the pipes of it. So you could tell I was super into drawing.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, I've been, doodling my whole life, especially seeing my mom. So my mom's my first inspiration as far as drawing and doodling and things of the nature.
Nice. That's good. That's cool. So sounds like your mom had a little bit of talent that she was just, you know,
Yeah, but that's the funny thing.
nursing.
She did it for fun, and she didn't see it as a
Uh-huh.
talent, something that she was good at. And but as a kid, because I couldn't do it, I was like, man, that's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Look at that box. That box is
Right.
amazing. Look at the shadows on that
Yeah.
thing.
Beautiful rendering. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Picture perfect.
And right, right, right. We need to put this on the refrigerator.
Yes,
Boom. Prime
exactly.
spot. So then did you, as you were growing and drawing and sketching, were you encouraged by your family? Did you find resources at school for art?
No, what happened is that translation from drawing translated to me loving to see cartoons on Saturday mornings and
Mm-hmm.
during the week. So I was hooked on Saturday morning cartoons from way back in the days. And it was so, well, my dad saw it as a bad thing at the time because he was like, man, you just sit here all day Saturday drawing. I mean, not drawing, but watching cartoons. And
Mm-hmm.
he put me in music class and he tried to get me to get out of the house and do different things. But I just loved animation, And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I loved it so much. They had a show called Messenger, which was an anime, and they had it in Spanish on the Spanish channel because Channel 2 and Channel 4 was in Spanish. But I didn't care. I was like, man, that's a beautiful cartoon. I want to
Uh-huh.
watch that. So I would
Uh-huh.
sit there, and even
Mm-hmm.
though I didn't know what they were saying, I don't know what they were talking about. The animation, the storytelling is what intrigued me, and I was like, man, that is so beautiful. Like I love it, and
Mm-hmm.
so it translated to like watching cartoons. So I would do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. And then that fed your inspiration and your creativity,
Right,
right?
exactly,
You're just collecting all these images in your head.
exactly, and that's what it was. I don't think I was introduced to comics till I was in junior high.
Mm.
Um, and the way I got introduced to it was the kids in class made an impromptu art contest, and they were like, "Let's see who could draw the best figure from this comic." And they had like a Captain Atom, DC
Mm-hmm.
Comics. And I was like, and so when I drew the character, I remember everybody loving mine because I drew the feet so perfectly. Like the ankles and the feet were just right, and so
Uh,
they were just like, "Oh, that's so amazing." Then I remember drawing Transformers, and that was spot on. So I was winning all these impromptu art contests in
mm-hmm.
class, you know, and that just encouraged me to not just draw more, but also
Mm-hmm.
get into comics. I was like, "A comic? What is that?" Let me check that thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Yeah.
the Virgin Islands, we don't have comic book stores. They had the newsstand
Mm-hmm.
with that you
Right.
would turn around the turners. You turn around and had
Mm-hmm.
all these different comics lined up on the turners. And my first two comics, one was X-Men, and one was Punisher War Journal, which was the first time I was
Yeah.
introduced to Jim Lee. That was Jim Lee's
Okay.
first break into comics, was drawing the Punisher War Journal, and I just
Mm-hmm.
loved his stuff from the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why I chose the comics, and so I started piling up all these comics because I just was loving what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
John Byrne, he was one of my huge inspirations because he was just like phenomenal drawing X-Men. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I love Wolverine. Wolverine was so cool to me. Like, he's just a bad, short, just
Mm-hmm.
bad, just like,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think I just love the whole anti-hero aspect of it because, like what we talked about earlier, how had everybody in tights. He was like not in tights. Well, he
Mm-hmm.
was in tights technically because his suit was in tights, but mostly he was
Uh-huh.
in jeans, cowboy hat,
Yeah.
and um,
You get to see more of his normal life every day.
exactly. He was in
Uh-huh.
regular clothes most
Uh-huh.
of the time. Even when he
Uh-huh.
had the suit, it would be torn off, and you
Yeah.
know. But I remember him saying, why are we saving these villains? Like, you're just gonna break up next week
Mm-hmm.
and kill more people. We need to take them out
Mm-hmm.
now. And he was the first person like
Mm-hmm.
to open my eyes, like, wow, he's
Mm-hmm.
right. Like, Magneto's
Mm-hmm.
gonna come back and just kill more people. Like,
Yeah.
but of course, killing was bad, so I don't want to promote that. But I'm just saying, like, he was the first
Yeah.
person to actually bring it to my attention that you know comics is deeper than just being Superman and you know
Mm-hmm.
saving Lois Lane is a lot of you know things going on in the world. I think the other thing too was the whole introduction of like racism and mutants. Like
Mm-hmm.
mutants were
Yes.
like bad, because they're mutants. Oh, you're a mutant. Let me throw you in
Mm-hmm.
jail
They're
and kill you.
prosecuted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I never really correlated the two or correlated real life to comics until I read a lot of X-Men stories that you know joined the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I think that's what makes comics a special medium that you can bring in these social issues, illustrate it however you want, to get a point across.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you can go to extremes like blowing buildings up or planets,
Mm-hmm.
and it just happens on paper. Like you don't necessarily need real actors
Exactly.
and things.
Your pen is the actor and the
Right, right.
director. I mean, you're doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's
Yeah,
still the
it's
world still needs this medium because most of
mm-hmm.
the movies that you see, and that I'm not just talking superhero movies. I'm talking like Road to Perdition, Matrix. All the stuff was comics originally that was made into
Mm-hmm.
movies. And so
Mm-hmm.
instead of rehashing Ghostbusters for the 50th time, all they got to do is
Right.
go to comics. Comics has a lot
Mm-hmm.
of different IPs that can be made into movies. Um,
Right.
that's why I'm so excited for Sanford Green because he has Bitterroot, which won like 5+ Elzer awards. It's just
Mm.
phenomenal, and they're making a
Mm-hmm.
movie about it. So it's just like that's where you need to get the inspiration to make different movies, and you have an endless supply of IP. You just go to
Right.
comics.
Right. Yeah. Just walk into a comic book shop and grab a pull a
Yep.
box, pull a whole box.
See what you like. If you make
Yeah.
movies and
Yeah.
stuff like that, like I'm gonna make a movie. This is excellent material.
Exactly. That's right. Okay. So let's go into your life in high school
Okay.
and middle school when you're deciding for yourself. When did you decide for yourself? I want to be an artist, professional artist, and I need to plan where I'm gonna go to study this thing.
Well, I was kind of forced into the idea because in school I was never a good student. I was always like a C student at best. So math and science, it didn't click with me. And I remember my dad coming to me and saying, "All right, what college you going to?" At the end of my junior year, and in my head I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking, college. I never thought about it. I never thought I could make
Mm-hmm.
college because my grades were so bad. And I remember going to my best friend at the time in high school, and he was like, I mean, he didn't even think about it. He naturally was like, just go to art school, just so nonchalant. And I was like, art school, there's art schools? And he was like, yeah.
That's right.
And so I was like, well, my follow up question was, how'd I get into art school? I have no clue. I have no idea. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. And every time he answered a question, it was so nonchalant. Like he just had all the answers the whole time. I just had to go to him. He was like, just go to the art
Mm-hmm.
teacher. Mr. Richards gets people into art school all the time. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, wow, okay. So this is lunchtime. So I immediately went to Mr. Richards and I was like, here's the situation. I'm supposed to go to college. I don't know. I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do, but my friend told me you get people into art school and I can draw,
Mhm.
reasonably well, I think, and I love to do it. So
Uh-huh.
how do I get into art school? Can you help me with that? He took a minute and he thought about it. He's like, it's the end of the junior year. You have 1 year to get you into art school. You need a portfolio.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be tough, but if
Uh-huh.
you stick with me the whole summer, work on the art, and you enter 2 art classes and join the Arts Honor Society, maybe you might make it. And I was like, I'll take it. Yes, let's go.
Challenge.
Challenge.
All
I'll
right.
take it. I'll do whatever it takes. There's expectation of me going to college, so I'm gonna do it.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Whatever it takes. And so I remember, because growing up in the Virgin Islands I lived in a very strict household, so I had to go to my dad first. And I was like, this is a situation. I want to get into art
Mhm.
college. Mr. Richards said he can help me, but I had to stay, with him the whole summer working on art. And you gotta understand, when the streetlights come on, I was expected in the house, so I had to get permission. And so I was like, "Can I hang out with him?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was so shocked because my dad, was so strict. I was like, I couldn't believe he was letting me hang out, past the streetlights coming on. And I remember being so excited to work on art all the time. Like I never thought about sitting there and drawing and painting for hours at a time. And I remember it was me and one other guy. His name was Kwame Brown, which turned out to be my cousin, who I never knew he was my cousin until I met his mom. And me, Kwame, and Mr. Richards spent the entire summer painting for hours at a time. Sometimes all day. And he had us involved in different programs. Like they had a Do Not Litter campaign, which we had to make signs for, and you had to paint,
Uh-huh.
trash, literally just draw, uh, not do not trash, do not litter, and stuff like that. And you had to draw all these
Oh, okay.
uh, landscapes and things of the nature. So
Mhm.
I got a chance to draw everything that summer and paint everything.
So he put you to work.
He put,
He's like,
yeah, he was implying he put us to work for sure. It was definitely it was a tough summer as far as like the leap from doing art for fun and my off time than to just doing it like
uh-huh.
nonstop, like every day, punching it out.
Uh-huh.
The other thing too is he introduced me to like
Gotcha.
gesture drawings and drawing from life and just drawing somebody
Uh-huh.
sitting in the chair, in the cafeteria. I would spend more time drawing on my lunchtime than eating
Yeah.
because we were doing a
Yeah.
little bit of everything. And then I had to draw uh, in the Arts Honor Society. Once that summer's over, um, and we started the year, it was like it was like it was crazy because I had 2 art classes. So I had his class and I had another art teacher named Miss Whittemer. And so I had 2 art classes going. Then I was in art society, which means you
Uh-huh.
did even more art with them. And then you had meetings and things of that nature. But the cool thing about the Arts Honor Society is that we would enter contests island wide,
Uh-huh.
and we
Okay.
would and because we would win those competitions, we would be invited to like Washington. So we had a trip to
Oh,
Washington, and when I get to see like that people doing art and artists are all over the world. Like it's all over the United
wow.
States. I got to see all these
Uh-huh.
different people from all walks of life create art, and it was just so fantastic. So the exposure
Uh-huh.
was amazing.
Nice.
The best part is when I received the letter saying I was accepted into Atlanta College of Art, and I was like, wow, it took a year and a half of nonstop just working hard, pounding at it. But it paid off in the end because I was able to come to the Atlanta College of Art in the United States. So
Well,
I was super
well, no.
pumped, excited to be a part of something bigger than me.
Yeah. That's crazy. Your whole life, you've been dabbling in art and in just the natural talent.
Yeah.
And then and then you're like, oh, that could be an idea. That could be just something I do in my life.
Right.
And then bam, crash course the whole summer. And because by the time people get to their end of the junior year, like they've already done the acceptance letters and
Right.
sent off to
Exactly.
vacation.
I was really late.
You know?
And he told me, he was like,
Yeah.
you might not make it because you're so late. And
Yeah.
I was so ecstatic
Yeah.
when I did make it.
Yeah.
You know, but I also was very competitive growing up. So I saw it as a challenge and something that I was excited to do. I never forget the first time I told him that I got in. He's like, when you go to the States, you make sure that every art class you go into, you have the best stuff, period. And that fueled me because I was like, I'm very competitive. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have the best stuff, period. You know, that didn't always happen, but my aim was always, you know, to be the best, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Place in the podium. At least you placed in the podium.
Right.
You know, that's right. Man. So here you go, then you go to school, and now we're catching up to you taking on a few projects. I remember one year we did that 24 hours comic
that
book
was so much fun. I loved it.
Day.
Yeah, that was great.
Yes. And I think that I get I saw firsthand your nonstop creative energy that you're able to push out of yourself into those 24 hours. Because a lot of us were crashing. You know, we were crashing out like, oh my gosh. And so yeah, we started midday one day, and we had to go 24 hours.
Yes.
And I finished a 12-page or something comic book. I forget now.
We all worked on a page, and it was so much fun. I definitely had a great time doing that. That was amazing.
Yes, a good time. And that's where I saw like the level of professional talent that you have.
Well, thank you.
Versus some of us who say, oh, I like to draw. I'm good at drawing. And then you're like, this is how you do it. like you have the whole mental strength, physical strength. It's like, dang, you're hardcore, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm working hard to get to get better every day for sure. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, when you're passionate about something, you at least for me.
So there's no surprise.
Yeah, I love it. I love, you know, creating, especially comics. Like, I think I could draw comics all day. You know, I just love it. I think that's why it's so hard for me to keep up with social media because, you know, when you run a business, you have to keep with social media. You have to advertise. It's so much stuff you have to do. And sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, I just want to draw. You know, I just want to. I don't even want to do all of that. Like, you know, like I post my stuff. Like when I do it, like you saw the Miles Morales piece I posted. But I gotta force myself to do that because, you know, there's so much stuff in my head that I want to put on paper, and there's so many ideas. You know, but I'm very appreciative of learning from Artist King and from Sanford Greens of the world, and, you know, so that I could focus and get something, you know, printed and put in your hand. You know, like it's just so amazing to print out a comic and be like, man, I created that. You know,
yeah,
it's definitely gratifying for sure.
Yes, and so there you go. So okay, so that's 3 different feelings we just discussed, and I want to end our podcast on understanding these parts.
Okay.
Number 1, you said I just want to draw. I feel the same way too. Sometimes I'm like, I just give me a pile of paper, a pile of pencils. You know, somebody feed me every once in a while.
Right.
I just want to draw.
Right.
That's it. Right? I want to be creative. But there's the business side of it. You know, where without the business side of it, the social media, the understanding of costs, of production costs and budgets, you know, and you getting paid for your work,
right?
Because, you know, you have a family to take care of and so on. I mean, if you were single, and I was that way too a long time ago, all I needed was 59 cents to get a bean burrito,
right?
And I'm good. Like, and that's it. Yes. I ate today.
Right, exactly.
Somebody give me 59 cents and I'm set for today. Right. I'll draw some more.
Exactly.
You know, so
So there has to be a business side of it that we have to understand and make work, and that includes social media and promotion and marketing of your art, talent, business. Because the last part, the third part, is you want to see that thing produced and in your hands or somebody's hands.
Yes, exactly.
So what is it that you've had to learn to manage a social media presence or manage like the Kickstarters?
Yeah.
Go from a Kickstarter that did not meet its goals to one that did.
Yes.
To, what is it? Some of the things you have to switch in your head and say, I need to do this.
Well, I guess for me, I think of it as first, creating the content would be the first thing. And once I create the content, then I can focus on creating, because everything from there can be created. Like, for example, a Kickstarter, you have to have the product so that you can make the video and show people what it's about, show people what they'll be getting, give them idea. Like when I created a Kickstarter for collectors, I had to I wanted to create something that was unique that people would get besides just the comic. And so I even made like hats of collectors, and shirts and all kind of stuff, so I can give people a unique product, that they won't get anywhere else. But it just takes time to create the production, and that's not just the art, but the production of the videos, production of the rewards, and researching how much it'll take to ship everything, how much it'll cost to print everything out. Like luckily for me, I just completed the printing process. So like I got the proof of the latest collectors, the issue 1, and that takes money because you got to send it to you first. You got to prove it and then send it back. And well, not send the proof back, but let them know that it is adequate to what you want.
Approvals or edits and stuff.
Right. And then they send you the actual book. So like right now, they're shipping the actual books to me that, then I can put those into a package and send them to the people that have bought the rewards, the pre-order, so to speak. So it just takes a lot of time to just sit there and create. After you've already created the product, then you have to create the videos and like the time lapse for the Miles Morales piece. I had to take time to do that and make the intro and make the outro and work on the sound. That's why I asked you earlier about the editing. Like you edit your own stuff because the editing process is like so tedious to me. Like I hate doing it, but I know I need to do it to get it to come out right. And I'm very competitive, so I want the edits to look right. I want to be some memes in there and make put adequate sounds. So it's a process, and so it's important to learn these things because that's how you're able to make the money in the back end. So after you created all these products or all these videos to promote yourself and put yourself out there, that you do that so that people will come and go to your website, like islandbreezemedia20.com, and purchase stuff. And you go to sleep, you wake up, and people have bought shirts and they've bought hats and all this other stuff. And so it's a process. But the one thing that artists really don't know, like for me, I focus on I gotta make the perfect feet or the perfect hand when I should have been learning about business. Like you can't, if you sign a bad contract, it don't matter how pretty the feet and hands look because you didn't get paid adequately for your services, or you're not getting paid at all. Like I signed a bad contract one time where I didn't get paid anything. I was paying them for to create product, and it was like, if I, so I think it's very important. I'm glad you're covering an Artist King on your podcast because business is the number one thing that artists need to learn. You gotta know business, and it'll help you to be successful.
Right. It allows you the chance to continue to be creative, and that be your bread and butter, your business, your job. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's important, and I'm glad you touched it. Well, I appreciate your time today. I look forward to more awesome creations from you. You are
Oh, for sure.
definitely winning. You're doing
Thank
your
you.
teacher good. You do your teacher well.
Thank you.
You're winning, bro.
Yes. Thank you.
If there was, however, if you can go back to that that conversation you were having, telling you about college and things,
Mhm.
and before you walked over to talk to your teacher, of course you were fearless. That sounds like a person who's fearless, like, oh, I heard this thing, let's go do it.
Yeah.
But if you were to be able to go back, you yourself today,
Mhm.
go back to that day and talk to yourself
Okay.
in person, like, boom, looper. And what kind of advice, what one piece of advice would you give yourself
Man, that's a
for your
comic
creative?
right there. That might be an artist king comic right there. I like that. Looping back in time.
Ah, yes, yes, I like it.
um, the one thing I would tell myself is you need to focus on creating art even when it's not convenient. And what I mean by that is I graduated at 24,
That's it.
and it wasn't until I was 34 that I decided to get serious about the art. So there was
Wow.
10 years before kids, before getting married, before all of that stuff, where I just wasted. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just worked, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't, focus on the art like I needed to.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't serious about it. And I think, and especially today, the way the internet is and the way that you gotta remember when I first got out of college, the gateway was the Marvel and DC. You couldn't
Right.
people didn't create their own books. It wasn't no print on demand services. It was like,
Uh-huh.
if you want to make
Uh-huh.
it, you have to make it with a company, in order to do it. And in today's
Yeah.
day and age, you don't need a company. You could do it on your own.
Right.
There's Kickstarters, all this other stuff available to you. And so if I had to go back in time, I'd tell them, stay focused, do the art, make sure that you pursue art professionally as early as possible before you get responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Very good. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. It's very important that we hear that at the beginning, because and I'd say this as to artists, like, as a professional, once you hit that level of professional, however much you get paid, it don't matter. As soon as somebody hands you money, they're making demands on you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes art is a passionate, emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but once you take people's money, there's no excuses like, well, I was just feeling it today.
Right.
Yeah. It is inconvenient, like you said. Sometimes it's not convenient. It doesn't have to even be life that takes over. It could just be that you're not feeling it in the moment. Well, then that's when you're a professional, when you start making adjustments to your mental attitude
Mm-hmm.
and your habits, so that boom, you get into that creative zone and do the artwork and stuff. So that's very important. What you said is that that don't let the time go by.
Man,
And
don't waste that
bro,
time. Time is the most valuable thing you have in this world, and once it's gone, it's gone. You don't get it back.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dell, for hanging
Thank you
out
for
with
having
us.
me. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you. We're going to make sure everybody follows your links that they will be in the description of this podcast. So go ahead and follow Dale and all his creative comic book adventures and everything else.
Please.
All right, thank you.
The Artist King podcast is made possible by the support of our sponsors, Azalea Creative Group, Sketchable Plus, and Visual Artworks. Once again, I am DTM, and I look forward to sharing the business of art with you. Until next time, stay creative.